There's a sentiment going around in recent times that's been brought to my attention. Apparently, a lot of Zoomers are sick and tired of seeing sex in their goddamn movies. They'll be all snuggled up with a cup of joe, watching a movie, having a blast, when kablam. Out comes the fornication, assault in their eyes. Now, there's plenty of Zoomers who don't have this problem. I don't want to paint a picture in broad strokes, but there's enough who do to make quite a ruckus about it. What really brought the issue to my attention was this Reddit post on the Gen Z subreddit I stumbled upon. It's titled, "We Did It, Reddit," alongside a screenshot of 3 articles covering the Zoomers' outrage over sex scenes. And the comment section is home to the common talking points these crusaders, these holy crusaders, use to assail the devilish presence of sex in their movies. I'll try to steel man the major contentions that Zoomers have with sex scenes as best I can. Basically, what they're saying is,
it doesn't add to the story. How does this advance the plot?
Completely pointless.
and here's my take on these positions. First of all, the idea that every scene in a film should do nothing but constantly push the plot forward like a Mr. Beast video, otherwise it's worthless, is kind of cringe, not gonna lie. What even is establishing a tone, mood, or an atmosphere, inciting emotions, learning more about characters? 'Tis a grim reality indeed if we as a society are to judge film's value through this lens, as a society. I feel like what the Zoomers basically mean with this point is what some of the others come out and say, which is,
Listen, if you have to do it, then just cut away at least. Don't make me watch.
which this noble warrior lambasts, crying out that this is as ridiculous a point as suggesting that movies keep every kind of scene implied as someone stares at the camera and explains the plot. Wikipedia is that away, bub. Here's an example of what I'm trying to say. A movie like The Handmaiden wouldn't be nearly as coherent or impactful if it faded to black before every sex scene and left them implied. Even toning them down would lose so much of the emotional impact and the passion on display. Now you could say, oh, well, the issue is that sex scenes tend to be gratuitous and screech plots to a halt in lieu of uninteresting fuckfests. But I don't think this is a particularly prevalent issue among sex scenes. I find myself more often feeling that a plot is needlessly interrupted by shitty comedic relief scenes, in fact. Also, to say sex scenes almost never add to the story or have any point to them seems just as whimsically absurd to me as saying action scenes or comedic relief scenes almost never add to the story or have any point to them. Remember what I said about painting a picture in broad strokes? This poor man said he could count in his hands the times a sex scene added to the story, so I'll do him a favor. Here's 11 movies with well-made sex scenes that add to the story. Checkmate. You can't even count that high with both your hands. And these movies are so hot, you're gonna need both hands spare, speaking of broad strokes. Okay, that was a joke. That statement would be cast in a dark light if you watch some of these. Tomfoolery aside, it's strange how many comments imply there's no reason sex scenes would be included in films other than for their pornographic value. This take sure does got me scratching my skull. It's hard to wrap my mind around the idea that sex isn't privy for vast artistic potential that goes far beyond porn. From what I understand, when people be fucking, that act often carries with it extreme passion, emotional significance, and societal implications. No shot you'd be able to gain insight into characters' minds and relationships or reap cinematic potential visually and narratively through a sex scene. On God, bro, no cap. Probably safe to just keep that shit out of art because it's icky. None of you would even be here without an unnecessary sex scene. I hate to be the one to break out the birds and the bees to you. I mean, I'm basically the CEO of sex, like, come on. So yeah, it seems surface level to just disregard sex scenes as having no other purpose besides porn. Is Coomer brain what's driving this perception? I'm not sure. In conclusion, after hearing the Zoomer community's complaints over sex scenes, here is my stance. While there are plenty of bad sex scenes that feel gratuitous or are just poorly executed, there's also plenty of scenes of any kind that suffer from these issues. I don't think there's a particular problem with sex scenes in this regard, and I don't think that's what's really driving this outcry. You want to know what's really driving this? I think we're going back to our roots. And I'm not talking like bring out the slaves, bring out the whips. I'm saying we're bringing the Hays Code back. I mean, that's the vibe you all are giving off, saying,
It makes me uncomfortable. I don't need to see it. It's unholy.
it's Gen Z's turn to be the prudes. Which, if you're a prude and you wear that label with a badge of honor, then whatever. But I feel like there's a lot of prudes out here justifying their prudeness by dismissing the undeniable purpose and artistic merit that many sex scenes have. But maybe I'm wrong, and there is a plague of bad sex scenes polluting the film industry that's gone under my nose. Regardless, what I propose is an anti-Hays Code. Your movie needs at least 5 minutes of sweaty butt fucking, or it's not a movie. And you better make damn sure the sex scene is entirely unnecessary and does not contribute to the plot in any way.